U.S. Navy warships making their way towards Japan from all over the region, Malaysia, Singapore, the Philippines. What you should expect to see is some of these heavy helicopters, heavy lift helicopters, move into this disaster zone. They're going to be able to carry in supplies, water, food, tents if needed, medical supplies, and they will be able to carry out those Japanese who are injured and need additional medical attention. Already we have some video of the first U.S. Navy ship loading up some humanitarian relief supplies. The USS Blue Ridge in Singapore earlier today began loading up its supplies, making its way. This is going to be a very significant relief operation from so many countries around the world and from international private relief organizations, of course.
And Barbara, it's John here. There's 38,000 U.S. military personnel already stationed in Japan. It's a very, very big base of operations for the U.S. in the Pacific. Is there any word what they're doing right now?
Well, it's very interesting. As we've reported throughout the day, of course, Japanese commercial airports were damaged by all of this and planes could not land. So even overnight, U.S. military airfields in Japan began accepting commercial airliners that were already in flight, already on their way to Japan, but had nowhere to land. They came to some U.S. military airfields in Japan. All U.S. military personnel seem to be okay, so some of that capacity is getting ready to jump in and work on the disaster relief. What's really happening right now as the new day begins in Japan, of course, is U.S. officials are going to talk to the Japanese government as they survey the disaster area in their country. What are they seeing? What do they need? What can the U.S. help with the most? So it's going to be in these coming hours as the day begins in Japan that some of this will be finalized, but the military really trying to move into place and cut down on that preparation time. Be there, be ready to go. When the Japanese say, we need this, the U.S. Navy, the U.S. Air Force wants to say, okay, we're here, we're going to help.
Barbara, stand by for a second here, because it appears that we're getting, next to you on screen, what appears to be daylight video. You mentioned the sun is about to begin to rise. It appears to be doing that right now. And I can't even tell if this is supposed to be land or if this is supposed to be water. They're speaking in English. This is in HK. Let's listen.
Well, they were speaking, but the point to make here...
Here we go.
300 unidentified bodies have been found in Miyagi Prefecture. They say victims may have been hit by massive tsunamis. You're watching live footage in Fukushima Prefecture. Now, 188 other people are confirmed dead and more than 700 are missing across several prefectures. At least 61 people are dead in Iwate Prefecture. Police there say...
Barbara, want to go back to
you know, guys, if we look at, let me add something in here. As you look at this just utter devastation across Japan, what we also know is both the Japanese self-defense forces and the U.S. Navy at daylight now are beginning to fly reconnaissance missions. What they're doing is going up in aircraft and going over these huge areas of devastation and mapping it, if you will. Having a look at where the damage is, where the roads and the highways are out, where people may be out trying to get shelter, food. You know, because there's so much devastation and because communications and electricity is down, they need to not just try and assess it on the ground, but go up above, fly these airplanes and get a wide swath look at it. So they can begin to map these large areas and see where they need to prioritize and focus the relief effort. And you only have to look at these pictures, don't you?
Yeah.
To see the scope of the devastation.
And just for our audience, from what we can tell by a map that was on the screen a short time ago, this is the area, and what the news anchor said, this is the area of the Fukushima Prefecture, which is where we've been talking about the issue with the nuclear power plant, which is having issues with that reactor, which is down, having trouble cooling down. As we've been telling our audience, this is the first daylight, the day after that 8.9 magnitude quake, the day after the tsunami swept ashore. Now, the problem we're having here, as we look at these pictures, Barbara and Brooke, is we don't know if this is the coast, we don't know if this is inland, but obviously, Barbara, as you've been saying, they'll be making a surveillance. They'll be doing surveillance, aerial surveillance of the region. Let's just listen to our affiliate NHK.
There's a possibility that radio materials may be released into the air, but the amount should be minimal. The evacuation advisory follows another problem at the power company's nuclear plant on Friday. This is a live footage from Tokai Village in Ibaraki Prefecture. You're watching live video from Tokai Village in Ibaraki Prefecture. This is live from Ibaraki Prefecture. We see cars on fire, and huge smoke is coming up from the fire. This is live from...
Yeah, some very dramatic pictures there. Some live images coming to us from Tokyo, where it is now, or Japan rather, where it is now 19 minutes past 6 in the morning. Yeah.
Did you see the pictures of the cars?
Yeah, all
cars.
like a car lot.
Engulfed in flames. We'll continue to check back in with our affiliate NHK to assess the damage now that we're seeing it in the light. I want to bring in Chad Myers, who perhaps, Chad, you can give us a better lay of the land as to where specifically this is. And we know it's near the Fukushima nuclear plant. Where is that? And it's also unclear as to where the land ends and the water begins.
This is exactly what General Honore talked about less than 30 minutes ago. That when the water came in with the tsunami, and it tried to leave, it was trapped in these valleys where there's kind of a coastal little ridge, and then there's valleys beyond that ridge, and then mountains, obviously, to the west of that. This is the water. You can't tell where the ocean starts and the land begins because this is where that ocean water has flooded the land. It is not able yet to leave the land, and it's just sitting there. The pictures of the fires of the cars was amazing. And clearly you could see it was just one car was catching another car on fire. And then it just kept going. And this has been burning now for what seems like 12 hours. It must be somewhere in that ballpark.